So this Qbounti question is from Cornelius. Thanks for the question, by the way. He asks, did Bernie really lack support in South Carolina, or was that a lie? With Biden's mental issues, I wonder if Bernie getting that vote changes things. I'm going to assume you mean, did he lack support in 2016? And so that's a pretty it's like a two-pronged question. I'm gonna explain why. The popular myth is that he lacked a lot of support not only in South Carolina but in North Carolina as well. Um, I was at Fort Sumter, South Carolina, when he gave his speech in the very, very beginning of his campaign, and it was a packed house, line outside of the door. I was also in Charleston, South Carolina, once again, before his name was widely known, and he basically filled up an arena with thousands and thousands of people in South Carolina. He had some of his best people on the ground in South Carolina, which I commend him for. There was a couple of bad eggs in there, but I know that somebody who actually was on my team for when I was acting director of North Carolina for Bernie's campaign in 2016, somebody that was on my team in college actually ended up working with them in South Carolina. I actually got a job for her down there, and she just was a killer down there. I mean, knocking on door after door after door after door after door. So like, do I think that Bernie didn't have support? No, I think he had a lot of support. Do I think it was possible that Hillary had more support there? Yes, and here's why. So South Carolina, in the metropolitan areas and even in a lot of the rural areas, there is a lot of black people. Now I'm gonna tell you something about black people, especially if it's a single parent household. We don't have a lot of time, or at least the older generation, especially if they have kids. Like I said, they don't have time to get their information and their news from social media. A lot of them were still programmed to believe that Hillary Clinton was at least somewhat like Bill Clinton, who they believed was on their side. He played that saxophone one time. Totally played that saxophone the entire time he was passing the 3-strike rule with that criminal justice legislation. So, yeah, I do believe Bernie had support, but the quote unquote, lack of black support in South Carolina, in my humble opinion, didn't come from Bernie not appealing to the black vote enough, didn't come from black voters meeting with Bernie and then saying, I don't like you. No, it was actually the opposite. Bernie's turnover rate in South Carolina was insane in 2016. And it looks like he's actually still, his trajectory is trending up right now. He has a slew of endorsements. Nina has been killing it in South Carolina for him. And so I expect that to continue. So overall, do I think that Bernie had a lot of support? Yes. Also think that there was some rigging that was going on the ground. Not I think, I know for a fact there was some rigging that was going on the ground in South Carolina in 2016. So there's a chance that he actually had more support in 2016 than I even am able to codify or quantify, just because we don't know how much effect the rigging in South Carolina had an effect on the outcome of that particular race. As far as the Biden point is concerned, I do agree that Biden probably has the best chance of winning South Carolina as it currently stands, because of the same reasons I said before, right? He's associated with Obama. The black community loves Obama still, unfortunately. And Obama, or excuse me, and Bernie still doesn't get enough face time in front of the mainstream. Much more popular, right? Is going to be participating in much more debates before South Carolina, so that will help greatly. But he really doesn't get a lot of face time in front of the mainstream. And even if he isn't getting a lot of face time, usually they will put a surrogate up there. But very rarely do you see Nina or Okana or even Bree Joy Gray being brought on like they bring on these other consultants and talking heads and surrogates for those campaigns. So I believe that he still isn't getting the amount of coverage he needs there, although he's still well known. But being well known is not the same thing as getting a vote, right? A lot of people know who he is as a person who stopped Hillary from winning, That's not a good, for some of these people, it's not a good way to look at it. Now the debates is where hopefully he will separate himself from that image in their minds. I hope that he continues to just throttle the establishment, explain what he had been trying to explain in 2016 but didn't get enough coverage or enough time to do so during the debates, because there was only about 6 or 7 debates total. I think it was only 6. So in that regard, I do believe that Biden, as he continues to fall, as the mental health issues that are becoming a legitimate concern, they're not gafes. I hate when people call them gafes or gaffes, whatever you want to call them. These are more than lapses. These are, there's something going on with him cognitively, and I think that it's stupid to ignore it. Like, at a certain point, can we be a little concerned for this man's health? If you're talking about the most exhausting and most stressful job in the country, why the hell is it taboo to discuss the health of this particular candidate? I wouldn't even care if we discussed the health of Bernie Sanders if there was something to be concerned with, right? And it's weird because you see, like, the establishment constantly defends Biden, right? Oh, it's ageism. No. But it wasn't ageism when y'all were. They're still claiming, by the way, that why do we need Bernie Sanders if we have a younger Elizabeth Warren who is almost the same thing? And he's not. She's not. Excuse me. She's not the same thing as Bernie. But they don't have any problem practicing ageism against Bernie, but then using it to defend Biden. And then remember when we had legitimate concerns for Hillary's health. She was running for president also. When you're running for president, your health is a legitimate concern. You are about to undertake the most stressful job, a job that ages people beyond belief. Look at Obama when he first got elected. The man barely had any gray hair. Barely any gray hair, not a single damn wrinkle. Look at how he left. And that, black on crack, and he got that African black. So that's like a whole different type of black. And he still ended up aging significantly because of that. Stayed in great shape though, but can't discount it. So because of his deteriorating mental condition, I think that people are noticing it. You're starting to see it talked about a lot more, and Bernie can capitalize in that regard. I just hope that it doesn't, for some reason, because they're close to the same age, I hope that doesn't reflect or somehow deflect off of Biden onto Bernie, where they say, well, Biden's going through this, it's only a matter of time before Bernie goes through this, which I don't think is the case. Bernie is in better shape than I am. He's in better mental health than I am. Like, not even exaggerating. The man is sharp as a tack, barely stutters, and he's been hitting the campaign trail as if that's the case. He's not hiding from the media. He's welcoming them in open arms, and he's taking every opportunity he can get to campaign in that particular state and in other states that he had lost to Hillary in, but now seem wide open for the taking because the black vote is not sold up in any single race anymore. Kamala is done. Buttigieg can't get the black vote to save his life. Tulsi needs to do, in my opinion, a better job of courting the black vote because of her lack of she just is really big when it comes to not pursuing identity politics. But I think there needs to be an understanding that you don't have, speaking to the truth, there's no identity politics when you're talking about the truth. That's my humble opinion. She has a brilliant criminal justice record. She has a brilliant legislative record when it comes to black issues. I just think she needs to talk about it more often. Bernie has learned, which is different than 2016. He talked about racial justice, but he never talked about really his past when it came to that type of stuff. It was left up to the people who supported him to bring up his past in regards to his activism for racial justice. Tulsi is kind of going through that motion that Bernie initially went through in 2016 when it came to the black vote, when it came to racial justice. He talked about it, but he didn't talk about his personal history with it, for fear of the same thing, I assume. So I would love to see, Tulsi talk about it more, but the truth still remains that Bernie has done a brilliant job addressing that issue. He has Nina, his secret weapon. And so I think that that's a large reason as to why he will be very, very successful in South Carolina going forward. I hope that answered your question, Cornelius. Thank you so much. You can ask me a question as well. If you don't catch me live, you can definitely catch me on Qbounti. It's a Kbounti, Qbounti.com. Just look for my smiling face and ask a question. There are different tiers of questions you can ask, and you can even ask me to do a response video to another video if you are compelled to do so. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else,